Hello, everyone. Dave from your Workplace Guide. Hey, today we're going to be talking about something that just does not seem to get enough attention. People kind of ignore it. It's one of those things that they dread. We're talking about the infamous cover letter. This is one of those areas that you just cannot afford to ignore when you're trying to apply or submit for a job and get a job interview. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing as far as cover letters that I'm going to say is, as far as people ignoring them or not putting enough attention into them, this allows you to have an opportunity that's absolutely tremendous. Cover letters are incredibly powerful if they're done right. As far as selling yourself, it allows you to present the professional side of yourself that others are not taking the opportunity to do when they choose to ignore the cover letter component. Now, obviously, if a job requires a cover letter be submitted, then of course everyone's going to do that. But when it's an optional thing, you're going to find that a lot of people choose to ignore this. Do not overlook the option for a cover letter, okay? Make sure you take advantage of submitting a cover letter every single time. There's two mistakes that people make when it comes to cover letters. First mistake, they don't even submit one. And the second mistake is if they do have to submit one, you can tell that it's rushed, it's put together poorly, they didn't put a lot of thought into it as far as how they're preparing the cover letter. Make sure you use this to your advantage. Let's make a professional cover letter. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the common questions and answer those questions that you're going to run into regarding cover letters. So let's go ahead and get started here. Just going to run through some of these questions. Some of these I'm going to hit on quickly. Some of these I'm not. Do I need a cover letter? Yes, absolutely. Always. Cover letter is just another tool to sell yourself. Do not leave yourself short in the opportunity. What are the elements of a cover letter? Okay, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to list your contact info. This is going to be in the same format that your resume is, so it's going to match on the heading. Then you're going to have the business address that this cover letter is going to. It's going to be addressed specifically to one person. It's going to have your introduction. It's going to have the body. It's going to list your salary requirements if that's something you choose to list. I would recommend you do that always, but some people choose not to. But if the job posting does say please include salary requirements, you absolutely want to make sure you include those. And then it's going to have your closing. How long should it be? Ideally, a cover letter is going to be 3/4 of a page. It's not going to be less than that, and it's not going to be longer than one page. So if you get to the point where it's getting too long, you need to look for material to cut out. You need to be able to maybe reduce your font size a little bit, get creative on creating additional space if you need it, but you do not want to be more than one page long on a cover letter. Double or single spaced? Single spaced, always. Best font, Times or Arial. Okay, this is where some people, again, make a mistake. They'll try to get into a fancy font. Understand this. Business is business. Business people expect certain things. So when I see something come across my desk and it's in a fancy font, it's not something that's jumping off the page to impress me. Just go with what's standard. Go with what's expected there. Do not try to set yourself apart when it comes to font. Do I put my picture on a cover letter? Nope, never. Should I list my address? No, not on the cover letter. Okay, on your resume, it's going to be fine. You're going to have your address. On your cover letter, what are you going to list? You're going to list your name, your email, and your phone. That is it. You want this to be, you're going to have a limitation on space as it is. You don't want to fill it up with information you don't need when it's going to be something they can find on your resume. Who should I address my cover letter to? Ideally, this is going to go to a specific person, as I referenced earlier. If you cannot find a specific name, so you've called the company and you just can't come up with a specific individual to address it to, it is okay to address this to a particular title. Hiring manager, their recruiting manager. Use your best judgment here, but try to list it to a specific individual whenever possible. Do I list it to whom it may concern? Ideally, no. This is one of those things I disagree with a lot of people on. A lot of articles you'll read today say it's outdated and it's not professional. Well, that's all BS. You can still list it to whom it may concern. Ideally, though, it's something you're not using today. Try something new. Next thing we're going to cover, format. Big mistake here, too. You want these to be clean. You want them to be easy to read, okay? The more spacing that you can have as far as white space, the better, but you want to be careful with that because you do want to get enough information on your cover letter to tell your story. Make sure you're free of spelling errors and grammatical errors. Just look at how those jump off the page right there. Absolutely critical that you do not have spelling or grammatical errors on a cover letter or your resume. Do not forget that. Personal reference. Do I list this on my cover letter if I know somebody that works there or somebody that personally referred me to the job? Yes, absolutely. You want to mention early on in the cover letter You want to make sure you put that to your advantage. Current or past tense, you're going to use both, especially if you're talking about a position that you currently hold. You want to make sure that you're using current tense. You're going to use past tense whenever you're referencing anything from the past. Salary requirements, should you list them? As touched on earlier, yes, I would list those here. It is a judgment call. You don't necessarily have to, but if the job posting states that you do have your salary requirements included, make sure, of course, you list those. Do I sign a cover letter? If you're mailing it, yes. If it's electronic, no. I would advise whenever you apply or submit for any position that you're doing both, you're mailing a hard copy as well as submitting electronically. The hard copy is just something that not very many people do anymore. It is going to be something that kind of sets yourself apart, and it allows you to print it on a heavier stock paper in color. It just adds an element of professionalism that an electronic submission can't give you. Why do some jobs only list a cover letter as optional? Well, some hiring managers use this as a screening tool. And if you think about this logically for a second, if a job posting has a listing and then the listing is, optional as far as whether or not cover letter is required, who would you interview first? Would you take your time and interview the people that just chose to ignore that step and didn't want to take the time to put a cover letter together? Or would you interview the folks that are going to put a cover letter together, that want to take the time, show the dedication to the job? Give it the attention it deserves. Always submit a cover letter. Should I submit when optional? Just set that yes without exception. Should I submit when it states not to? Now, this is rare. I mean, I can't imagine, but occasionally I suppose you see it out there. Apply to, no cover letters accepted. If that's the case, no, don't submit it. Follow the instructions. Make sure you match the resume. Same paper, same format, same font. You want your cover letter and your resume to work together as a sales tool. What type of paper? You're going to print this on resume stock, which is 24-pound paper. But you want to also make sure your resume, again, is printed on the same paper. Mail a copy. I hit on that, yes. Do I bring a copy to your interview? Generally, that's not going to be necessary. You want to make sure you're, of course, bringing your resume, multiple copies of your resume to your interview, but you do not need to bring the cover letter. Last thing we're going to hit on here before we wind this up, remember this, if nothing else, 50% of your candidates out there are not even going to submit a cover letter. Okay, so the opportunity that you are being presented with on a cover letter is absolutely tremendous. This is an opportunity for you to sell yourself. It's an opportunity for you to set yourself apart. So if you have 50 job candidates, 25 of them haven't even submitted a cover letter. You've just put yourself in the lead that much more. Now you're going to make sure your cover letter's professional. You're going to make sure you've done it right. No spelling, no grammatical errors. Put some serious thought into how you're going to write it, how you're going to create it, what material you're going to cover on it, and you want to make sure that it's selling you, okay? A cover letter, again, I cannot state this enough. This is one of those things that is so often overlooked, and it is so powerful in helping you get the job interview and eventually the job. That's where we're going to wind it up today. If you have any other questions, comments, feel free to leave them below. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate that, and we'll talk soon.